Alright guys, I'm here to talk about some football, NFL. We're 23 days away from the draft, and I'm pretty excited, especially now that March Madness is narrowing down. Alright, first I want to talk about the big news. Nnamdi is now a San Francisco 49er. As you all know, he was an Eagle for the past few years. We picked him up in free agency in 2011. And at the time, it was great. I was excited. However, it didn't turn out so great. His deal is a one-year deal, $1.35 million with a couple dollars between there with incentives. And he also is receiving $4 million from the Eagles still, which is great. For the Eagles, not really. But, so I think this is a great pick for the 49ers because, Nnamdi is getting up there in age, and he didn't do too hot for the Eagles the past few years. But the 49ers definitely lost a few guys in free agency, and, they're in the Super Bowl last year. Their defense is one of the greatest defenses in the NFL, and Nnamdi will do better up there with the press scheme rather than the zone blitz or the zone coverage, which he used mostly in Philly with the wide 9 scheme, and with Juan Castillo using that wide 9 scheme. It didn't really work with Nnamdi and Asante and then Nnamdi and Rogers Cromartie, but I feel like it'll work. I feel like he'll do a little better back over, in the Bay Area where he's from. He went to college in Cal and then played for the Raiders, so I feel like he'll be more comfortable over there and actually maybe play football with his heart instead of his paychecks. So, and then the next big news, Carson Palmer to the Cardinals, which is pretty big considering Kevin Kolb, scouting didn't really do much there. And now the Cardinals have a new head coach, Bruce Arians. He was the intern coach of the Colts last season. He had a great year with his rookie quarterback and all the rebuilding that they did. So, Bruce Arians already said that, Carson Palmer is already our guy. He will be our starter. I feel like unless they draft someone, which I highly doubt they're going to draft anyone in the first round as far as a quarterback, probably not the second or third round either, considering there's so many other problems they need to address. But I'd say Carson Palmer he'll do good there, but he's not going to do as well as he did with the Bengals when he had Chad Johnson. He'll be throwing to Larry Fitzgerald now, which is a lot better than any other receiver he had in Oakland. With Darius Hayward-Bay, he did great and all, but most of his numbers are just chump change when they were down in the fourth quarter and he was just tossing it up there. But his numbers in 2012 were actually fairly well if you look at it just as a statistic and not how he got those numbers. 22 touchdowns, 14 interceptions, and just over 4,000 yards last season. And those are some pretty good numbers. And he'll be 33 years old coming up this season, and he's got a lot of experience, so that's not anything you have to worry about as far as him. And his deal is worth $20 million for about 2 years. So, half of that will be 34, 35, and that's pretty much he'll be done, assuming he doesn't have any, amazing Brett Favre comebacks or anything. So, and I feel the addition with Rashard Mendenhall coming from Pittsburgh will be good for his running back, and he also has Ryan Williams coming back. I believe it's his third year. Alright, now some minor news is Colt McCoy is now a 49er. They have their backup now that they traded Alex Smith to the Chiefs. And Colt McCoy, he was a great college star. He played well 4 years. He had the most wins in Division I until Kellen Moore of Boise State broke that record. And he's a solid player. I don't feel he'll be ever anything more than a backup, but I think he'll fit in well there at San Francisco. behind Colin Kaepernick. And then we got Matt Flynn to the Raiders, which I feel is a great pick as long as Matt Flynn from that game against Detroit when he played for, instead of Aaron Rodgers, when he had 6 touchdowns and no interceptions, again 480 yards against the Lions. If that Matt Flynn shows up, that's going to be great. You know, I mean, they did just lose one of their top receivers in Darius Hayward-Bay, but they still have, you know, Darren McFadden. I mean, they have a solid defense. I mean, they have a few holes they're going to have to pick up in the draft, but I feel Matt Flynn, he never got a chance in Seattle. I feel like he did. But then when you look at how great Russell Wilson played, then I would have probably not even thought twice about Matt Flynn. Everybody thought Matt Flynn was going to start over Russell Wilson. I mean, he was drafted in the 3rd round. And just think about, like, wow, quarterback in the 3rd round, leading his team to the playoffs, getting a playoff victory, almost beating the Falcons in the playoffs after they beat the Redskins. Like, that was amazing. Nobody thought that would happen. And then we got Kevin Kolb to the Bills. It's pretty interesting how we have a lot of these former Eagles going places. Look at that. Anyways, so the Bills released Fitzpatrick not that long ago, and let's just say it's probably the best thing they could have done, because Fitzpatrick, he's been streaky. There's always been questions about his throwing technique and throwing up his back leg and not getting enough power, which led to his interceptions. But I feel Kolb will be slightly better than Fitzpatrick was. He'll compete against Tavares Jackson, who signed a 1-year deal to compete. And I can guarantee the Bills are going to draft a rookie quarterback now that they have the former head coach of Syracuse football. It's even possible that the Bills draft Ryan Nassib from Syracuse, who was the starter there under the head coach now of the Bills. But if that happens, that'll probably be 2nd round. I highly doubt he'll drop to the 3rd round. I mean, it's possible. But there's also quarterbacks like, obviously, Geno Smith. If he doesn't go to the Jacksonville, he's definitely not going to the Raiders now. And, yeah, I guess if he doesn't go to Jacksonville, he could fall to number 8. Where, yeah, actually this has projected Geno Smith. But if the Bills decide not to draft the quarterback 1st round and pick up, you know, another playmaker, they could also get like E.J. Manuel from Florida State or Mike Glennon from NC State. He had a solid season. And I just feel they're definitely going to need at least another quarterback to compete with Kolb and Tavares Jackson, because it's kind of the situation they had in Miami last year where, oh, here comes Ryan Tannehill, and nobody thought, hey, this kid's going to start. Like, he came out of nowhere towards the last few weeks of the draft, and he had a solid season with the pieces they had. I mean, they had Brian Hartline come out of nowhere, and now they just signed Mike Wallace, so that'll be even better with them. So I feel with the new leadership from the head coach there, they just picked up from Syracuse, I feel the Bills are going to definitely be going somewhere, but I don't know if Kevin Kolb is your guy. I can see it being a Ryan Tannehill situation where he wins the starting job in the offseason. So, with that in mind, I'm going to say, with the Nnamdi pick, I feel like this is a great pick because now the NFC West is one of the best divisions in the National Football League. You know, you got Seattle with Russell Wilson, they just signed Percy Harvin, and now you have the Cardinals. Obviously, now they have Carson Palmer and Fitzgerald and Mendenhall. And then the Rams are a solid team. I mean, yeah, they're probably the 4th team out of 4 in the NFC West, but they're definitely going up. And they did lose Danny Amendola, which is going to hurt them, but they'll definitely fill in some of the spots. So that's another reason that Nnamdi pick is definitely up there. Alright, guys. Well, that's it for now. So leave me some comments and posts either on YouTube or Facebook, and let me know what you thought. And I can't wait for the draft. Peace.